Getting engaged and becoming obsessed with Brazilla's stories turned me onto Charlotte's videos, and I am now an avid binge watcher. If you see this, love you, Charlotte. As I've been living vicariously through everyone's petty revenge stories, I remembered one of my own. It was probably both the pettiest revenge I've ever gotten that was simultaneously mixed with sweet. Sweet karma. Sorry this is super long. Brevity has never been a strength of mine. I love giving context and details. Skip to the end if you want the TLDR. Back in 2012 to 2014, I was married to a legit man-child. We met online in a video game when I was 20-yo and he was 28-yo. And were engaged very quickly due to him being in Canada, so we weren't able to be together. I researched all the options for us, go in both directions, and circumstances best lined up for him to immigrate here, and the only real option to do this was by getting married. Despite us marrying quickly, I told him if we do this, we do this. The commitment was real to me. Ride or die. It's worth noting that not only was I young and thus dumb as a box of rocks, when it came to choosing relationships, I was also extremely socially awkward and very physically unattractive. Additionally, I have a lovely myriad of fun mental disorders, undiagnosed and unmedicated at that time, that make me especially susceptible to being blinded by any kind of male attention. We had an extremely toxic relationship that was chock full of red flags from the very beginning. I found out during the trip to see him where he proposed to me. His computer password was another girl's name. Yes, I should have run then, but I was in love, blah blah. He had several emotional affairs during our relationship. They were online, although one was with his friend back in Ontario, where they had plans to meet up. But I believed in our marriage and I thought he was my soulmate or some shit, so I stayed. Anyway, in 2014, we had been married for a little over 2 years, had moved to a large city, and I had been finally starting to get my shit somewhat together. We both were working full-time at low-wage factory, fast food jobs. But I started obsessively learning personal finance and had a plan to dig us out of debt. I was back in college working towards my degree to try to get on a solid career path. I was medicated and working hard on my mental health. I knew the kind of life I wanted and had really started to see some light after many dark years that I didn't think I'd make it. He was taking a couple college courses here and there, but not really dedicated. He was always superiorly lazy, only doing the bare minimum and continuing to spend his days playing video games. I'm not against playing video games by any means, but this man had over 3,000 hours logged in one game, not including anything else. It was a problem. I'm a pretty big control freak and built a passion for finance, so I naturally took control of our finances and expenses. I made sure the bills were paid, we were working on our debt, had up-to-date insurance, etc., etc. I'm pretty smart with that stuff. We were both on everything, of course, BC we were married. But I had all the logins and managed everything. This is important later. Skip forward to fall 2014. I found out he was cheating. Full on. He met a girl at work. He was a dishwasher at a local chain restaurant, and they began an affair. When I found this out, it was especially hard. BC I found the messages on his computer. He already was one of those cheaters that would like break phones and shit when I got suspicious. But this time I wasn't even trying to snoop. He left his FB open on his computer and the messenger was shimming. He was in bed asleep. So I got to read all the messages to this girl about how much he hated me, how horrible I was, how he misses her body, how he wants to have a baby with her, etc., etc. I found out they even had sex in our bed, which I'd worked so hard for us to save for and was the perfect bed. So that felt like a hard slap in the face. It was rough. I confronted him. He admitted it immediately. When I asked what we should do, I still didn't want to break up. He said we should probably divorce. So that was that. That was in October 2014. We lived together at the time in an apartment and shared the one car we owned together. so we had no way to physically separate at the time. I went through the various grieving stages, flip-flopping from anger to acceptance and back. So although living together with your cheating husband while he's still seeing his mistress, we were amicable half the time. So I got to learn about this girl. She was 18 yo, he was 31 yo, lived with her parents, with no car. I still recall him telling me with a big grin on his face how when he met her dad for the first time, he really was a mon child, maturity of a 15 yo, and he looked about to 5 yo. I laughed hysterically upon hearing this as I asked him, does he know you're 31 yo? No. Does he know you're a dishwasher? No. Does he know you're married? No. What a prize! He even had the audacity to ask me once to give him a ride to her house. I had full control of the one car of ours BC he could walk to work and I had to drive. And BC he had no room to demand anything, but it wasn't always amicable. The anger came back of course. During one such non-amicable period, I wasn't speaking to him. I was in full mourning, crying constantly and filled with rage. There was one day in particular he was blowing up my phone. I didn't answer or listened to his VMS. So he showed up at my job. I was livid, tried to keep my composure while I nearly screamed at him to get out while he pleaded to just talk. To me, he left. It was the next day I think that I got an email from our car insurance provider saying our policy has been updated and here's the new premiums. My email was the only contact email, so I'm updated with any changes. What? I logged in and found a new car had been added to our policy. Confused as hell BC he didn't have any of our login info. I called them and found out that he had called our provider and added a new car to our policy. He's a full policy holder, so he had every right to do so. I called him immediately to ask him what the actual fuck. He said he had tried to talk to me about it. He went to buy a car and they said he needed insurance on it, but he couldn't get a diff company BC. He was already insured through ours, which I still find odd since that doesn't make sense, but whatever. I asked him how the fuck he even got a loan for a car since he makes shit for money and had only been working there for a short period. He had a cosigner. No GF. Apparently the 18-year was old news. What kind of idiot cosigns a car loan for a BF, let alone a new married BF? Needless to say, I was absolutely beside myself with rage. His new car raised our premiums and I'll be damned if I'm going to pay more money. So I had an idea. Opportunity for my petty revenge. I logged into our insurance portal and changed the coverages. I dropped every single coverage for his car. I found out through messing around with it that by keeping his car on the policy, it actually charged me less than the original premiums due to multi-car discounts. So I left it on, but he had no collision, no comprehensive, no nothing. He wasn't notified of the change BC. I was still the contact on the account. This is where karma came in. 5 days after I changed the coverages, he was in a car accident hit by an uninsured motorist. It totaled his car, his $13,000 car. He now was back to having no car and was still on the hook for his car loan, in addition to his co-signing GF. I'll be honest, after laughing at the ridiculousness of the situation, I actually felt really bad. I called the car insurance company crying, begging them to cover it, saying I made a mistake. Thought it was just a quote, blah blah. No dice. After being understandably upset about it, it was a week or two later he ultimately actually told me he forgave me for it. He said he deserved it for cheating on me. I still felt bad, but that helped. Some more shit went down before we finally finalized the divorce, more of his lying bullshit, more betrayals. But I eventually got out and moved on with my life. P.S. Fun fact, he later married that same girl. She reached out to me some years later asking for details on our marriage, since she was running into the same cheating behavior as I was. I was honest with her, genuinely felt bad for her. I gave her all the info she asked for and the advice to run. She and her daughter Tenyo from prior marriage deserved better. I guess she didn't take my advice, BC. I found out a couple years later they had a baby together. That was prob 7 years ago. No idea what happened since. I now live a life where I do not purposefully hurt people I love or have wronged me out of vindictiveness. I focus on being the best person I can. I'm far from perfect and have learned a lot over the years, but I'm proud of the person I've become and all the work it took to get here. After a few more toxic relationships over the last decade, I found a man, or he found me, really, who is amazing. We treat each other with kindness and respect and show each other we love each other every day. Still, whenever I look back on that whole situation, I just have to chuckle at the absurd irony of how it all played out. I've never seen a better instance of karma in my life. TLDR. I got revenge on my cheating husband by dropping all insurance coverages on his brand new car that he had a $13,000 loan on, co-signed by his new GF. And he was hit by an insurance motorist 5 days after, which totaled it. Edit. Some of you responded to these comments already clarifying thank you. But just to be super clear for everyone confused, the 18-year-old was not the 10-year-old's mom. He and 18-year-old broke up just before he started dating the 10-year-old's mom, or maybe he cheated on the 18-year-old. Never thought about that. Ayuk, the mom, was the same age as he was 3-1-year when they started dating. So the math made. It was about 2 years later, after he and the mom got married, that she reached out to me for info. So I guess the child would have been 12-year or thereabouts by then. I didn't think about the age that much. Just that she had a daughter and I felt bad since they deserved better.